Hey, Heather. Hey, audience.
Hi, Mike. Hi, everyone. How are you?
Good, and yourself?
Doing good. What's new with you?
Well, let me show you. I want to introduce you guys to whom I call Gordito. That means like fat little
Oh,
thing in Spanish. So he
he's
is some
so
kind of a
cute.
terrier, and his story is on Friday evening. I found him wandering around close to where I live, and there was no humans around. So I stopped to see if he had a tag, and he did not. And then a man came out of a door, and I asked him if he was familiar with this dog, and he said that he had seen the dog, shortly before, and knew nothing about him. And then a woman walked by, and she said something similar, like when she walked by there, shortly before, that same dog was there, but she did not recognize him. And after that, I put up notices on several websites with his pictures, saying found dog. And the only response I got was yesterday evening. So this would be 2 days later. Um, some guy said that the dog was not his, but he knew who it belonged to. And he thinks this owner is very sick. And, the dog may have escaped, or in fact, probably did. And I have not heard anything more since. This person said that he would check in on this owner, and I haven't heard anything.
Oh, wow.
But he's a very friendly, playful dog. Normally I like the bigger dogs, to be honest with you, but he's a lot of fun.
And you guys, do you take them to dog parks? Do you take them on hiking when you go on hiking mountains, for
Well,
example?
well, I mean, this dog I've only had for 2 days, so
Oh, okay.
um, no, 3 days now, and so I haven't had the opportunity to do those things, but I can tell you that he has a Napoleonic complex. He will bark like crazy at other dogs, especially big dogs. So he doesn't play well with other dogs. So I don't think I'd take him to a dog park, and I don't think I could take him on a hike because as much energy as he has with those short legs, he's only going to be able to get so far.
It's amazing how many of those small dogs have that complex.
Yeah, yeah, that's yes, they do.
Do we have any magic tricks or trivia for today?
Yes, we do. We have both. So let me
Yeah.
start by showing you the magic trick, and I'll explain how it's done at the end of the show. So let me try to remove this camera. So Heather, I'm going to do this magic trick to you. Okay.
Mm.
So I want you to think of any rank in the deck. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
got it.
Okay. Don't tell me.
Okay,
Okay. So do you see your rank among these cards here?
I do not.
Okay. Do you see it among these cards here?
Nope.
Do you see it among these cards?
Nope.
And do you see it among these cards?
Huh. No, I don't. Should I tell you the rank?
Huh. Okay. Let me make sure I set this up right. Um, yeah, go ahead and tell me.
I had Queen of Diamonds.
Okay, I didn't mean a specific card, including the suit. I meant just the
Oh,
rank.
that's why. I
Okay,
messed it
so
up.
let's do it again, okay?
Okay, so I'm thinking of something different. Okay, and just the number?
Yes, just the rank or the number.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, let me make this bigger.
You,
Okay. Yes, I
you see
see it.
here?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see it here?
No.
Do you see it here?
No.
And do you see it here?
Yes.
Okay, so then you must have a 9.
You're right.
Okay, so this trick is very mathematical. It's based on binary arithmetic, but I will explain all the details at about 3:55.
Awesome. Sorry I messed that up.
That's okay. No, I think we can
And
replay, and I think I did say the rank. But
okay.
anyway,
Yeah, I just probably got it. I
okay.
just probably screwed up.
All right. So by the way, happy Labor Day and happy
Thank you.
September.
Happy Labor Day to you too. Happy September. Happy fall, finally.
Well, no, fall doesn't start until about September 22nd.
Officially. But summer
Well,
ends at Labor Day.
that's kind of the unofficial start, but I love astronomy, so I'm going with the the
Equinox?
equinox when there's exactly the autumnal, however you pronounce it, equinox, when everywhere in the whole planet has 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of night. This
That's
happens
fair.
twice a year, at the first day of spring and the first day of fall. And
That's fair.
but let's check this out. It's Monday, September 22nd is when that happens. That is also Rosh Hashanah. So yeah, okay. But so it's also Labor Day in Canada. So I thought we would have some Canada trivia today. And as
Awesome.
usual, no searching. And the first question is, from which province is Anne of Green Gables from?
So if you know that answer, put it in the chat. And our first gambling question is actually a comment, and this is from Ari, who says, before I ask my questions, I would like to reiterate that I am a big fan of you both, and unfortunately, I cannot attend this live stream.
Well, thank you very much for being a fan and appreciate the comment, and have a good time, whatever you're doing instead.
Yeah, thank you so much. His question is has a part 1 and a part 2. I have a unique idea for an online game for Android and Apple devices that I believe could generate huge profits in the right hands. Michael, would you be willing to review it?
I'd be happy to review the basic idea that you have, but it's asking a lot for me to actually, um, you know, download the thing and, shall we say, demo mode and give it a good evaluation. That is a service that I charge for. And so I think that if, I like to do free little favors for my fans wherever I can, but it often happens that I'm just asked to do something that goes beyond the Call of Duty, and I just have to charge for my time. Otherwise, I would be, begging for coins on the street with a tin cup.
If someone wanted you to do this, what would be the easiest way for you to review the game? What if they took a screenshot or a video of them playing the game and then put it up on YouTube for you to watch?
Well, I think that Apple has this thing called Test Pilot or something like that, and you upload your game to that, and it allows you to play different apps that are still in demo mode. And so that's usually the way people test out apps.
Okay. And then his part 2 is if you think it is truly unique, would you present it to the right company or even an online casino? The 3 of us should receive a fair share.
Well, that's more of your thing, Heather. I am a terrible salesman. I could not sell $100 bill for $1. So you don't want to in charge me with sales. But Heather, I'll let you respond if that's something you might be interested in.
So our company develops games for casino game inventors, so we could develop it for you. We can also do consultation to explain to you how the process is done of getting your game onto the casino floor or in an online casino. However, we do not offer the service of actually selling your game to the casino. You would have to do that yourself. But again, we would offer you plenty of advice and ways that you could go about it, who you would talk to, that type of a thing. We just don't do it for you.
Yeah, let me add that the Global Gaming Expo is coming up. That starts on October 6th and goes to October 9th. And that is a great place to go if you are trying to get a new game off the ground. Even if you're just walking around on foot, you can talk to a lot of companies that sell games and get their feedback about it. And you probably will leave feeling pretty rejected and may give up hope, but that would probably be a good thing because it might save you a lot of money. It is a tough business.
It is. And then if you do go to G2E, the exhibit hall is free, so you don't have to pay to get into the exhibit hall.
But I should add to that you need like a code to get the free pass. And I think if you go through Galaxy Gaming, somewhere on their website, I think they have something that says, get a free G2E pass. But I bet that if you just search G2E free pass or something like that, you would find it.
Yeah.
Find a code.
And then Ari's last question is, have you changed your opinion about Bitcoin in the meantime?
Nope. I still say the whole thing is a fad and it's going to crash eventually. And I have been saying that since Bitcoin was at about $3,000. And people on my forum love to make fun of me that they said, I have increased my money by 20 times since you said that. But that all those profits are eventually going to be at somebody else's expense. And this is just the way Ponzi schemes work. They are great until they're not.
Yes, I completely agree with that. And the people who said that they have it, 3 times or 3,000 times, did they take the money out or is it still in there?
It's still mostly still in there. So you haven't truly realized the profit until you take it out.
Exactly. The next question is from Dalbrixon, who has a question for me. Heather, I like the recent B, You Better Be Joking short on Vegas Aces. Who scripted that? Was it you? We have a lot of funny shorts on our YouTube channel. That one in particular, I don't remember if it was me. It's either I write the script or Angela writes the script, or sometimes we collaborate on the script. So, for example, we're going to have a funny Christmas one with Elf on the Shelf, and we collaborated that together. So, like, she throws some ideas in, I throw some ideas in, that type of a thing. And then I think our Halloween one, which is coming out on Halloween Day, Angela's the one that wrote that one. So sometimes she writes it, sometimes I write it.
I saw the one you did with her where it compared a new dealer and a veteran, like 20.
That was mine.
Yeah.
But she came up with the blinking part of it. So she was the one that came up with the veterans not talking and just blinking and everything.
Mm-hmm.
No, actually, I have to say that's a collaboration because she came up with the idea of doing the new dealer. And then I came up with the idea of doing the new dealer and the veteran. And then so like I said, sometimes we collaborate. Sometimes I do it. Sometimes she does it.
Okay. By the way, it's been a while since I asked that trivia question. From which province is Anne of Green Gables?
So let's see if anyone has any answers to that. And I'm going from the most recent to before that. So Northern Jim says Anne of Green Gables was recently analyzed on a podcast, A Story Well Told. It was a great episode. And then we have someone asking you a trivia. Was it Nova Scotia?
No, but I see that Northern Jim said Prince Edward Island, which is correct. So good job, Northern Jim.
Awesome. I do not see that, so I'm glad you see that.
Okay, so, and when I say where she's from, she was adopted by a family in Prince Edward Island, but maybe she was from another province before she was adopted. But I think her whole book starts when she got adopted, and I know the family was wanting a boy, and here's this girl that shows up at the train station, and goes on from there. But she's kind of like the Canadian Laura Ingalls. That's just a very heartfelt story. Okay, but let's move on. What is the longest river in Canada?
So if you know the answer to that, put that in the chat. And our next gambling question also comes from Delbrickson, who says, do U.S. states allow scratch cards?
Yeah, lots of them do. And I take it you mean like scratchers, is what we call them, the lottery tickets. So, I would estimate that probably 45 of the 50 states have those. And by the way, they are a better form of gambling in general than lottery-based games where you pick numbers. And while I'm on the topic of the lottery, for any viewers in the LA area, I'm going to be I did an interview earlier today with CBS News Local, and it's going to be on sometime between 4 and 5 on Channel 9, and sometime between 5 and 6 on Channel 2. And I'm going to be talking about the last lottery. There were 4 people that got all the white balls correct in California in the last drawing, but not the Powerball. And the reporter was very curious about the odds of that. So I address that in this segment.
That's so exciting. I love it when you get on TV.
Yeah, I'm always frustrated with the math ability of reporters. They really just want everything like dumbed down to the most simple soundbite possible. And me, I like to get my hands dirty with the math. And here I am talking about the Poisson distribution and exactly how I did the calculations to get at this answer. And I don't think he cared one bit about that. I think that he really wanted to know, are Californians just more lucky than the rest of the country? And so.
What was the answer?
Well, I don't believe in luck, of course, but the given my estimate, 1.3 Californians should have got all the white balls in the last drawing correct, and 4 of them did. So that's about a 3% chance that 4 or more of them would. So it's no big deal. It's just random variation.
I love it. I love math.
Okay, me too.
Our next one is a multiple parter from Paul, who says there's a conspiracy theory that new slots either pay better or get more frequent bonuses to hook in new players and make good YouTube videos. Could there be truth to this?
No.
And then he also
go ahead.
He also says, is there anything preventing a slot designer from having a higher bonus frequency until a certain number of bonuses are hit before dropping the frequency? They could do this and still maintain the configured return for the life of the machine, right?
That would be very unkosher and probably illegal in Nevada. It's very basic in slot machine design that every outcome has the same probability on every spin. And, of course, if there's something like a must hit by jackpot, of course, that's going to be different. And if it's some kind of a game where you vest into a bonus, that probability is not going to be the same all the time either. But the information is given to the players. Here's that rule: the jackpot must be hit by this point, for example. But it's even before that. It's been a common conspiracy theory that slot machines are designed to tease the player with some wins early in a sitting, and then once they capture that player's attention, then they tighten up. That's just not how they're designed. And furthermore, if this were true, players can gain an advantage by figuring out when they switch to the tight mode and then just play up until that point and then moving on to the next machine. So yeah, it's a myth.
So how they normally do it is they have to go in saying this is the house edge or return to player, and then it has to be that until they change it with the gaming control board. Is that correct?
Well, I don't think that's what the asker was asking. He was saying that they could do this and still be compliant with the posted RTP, which I agree with, but the games do not, shall we say, discriminate based on how long the same person has been playing.
Gotcha. One more question, and we'll see if anyone has an answer to the trivia.
Okay.
Paul says, while the house edge on slots is high, there's no loss edge as a result of tipping. How does customary tipping in low house edge games, craps, blackjack, etc., compare to slots when adding that loss to the existing house edge?
Tipping is done a lot differently with slots. It's generally only done when a jackpot is hit, which is $1,200 or more. I hear that threshold is going to increase to $2,000 effective January 1st, but I'm not positive. Anyway, so that's kind of the only time that the slot player gets a shakedown for a tip. I do tend to think that slot players probably tip much less as a percentage of everything that they bet, in part because they're not getting a service from a human being all the time, only when they hit a jackpot. And whereas, say, playing a table game, you're sitting there with a person performing a service to you 100% of the time. So, I think it's more appropriate to tip because you're getting more of a service. So I hope that answers your question. Heather, if as a dealer, if you have anything to add, by all means, you may.
Tipping does not affect the house edge. And I think he's talking about on slots where there's not, if they tip, they would tip if they got like a big old jackpot, but usually on slots, you don't get tipped. How does customary tipping in house edge low house edge games compare to slots? Yeah, so slots I'm not familiar with, and then with table games, that tipping doesn't do anything to the house edge. It's just you giving away money.
Well, I will tell you that card counters will talk about this a lot because they have a very thin advantage of about 1%, and tipping will really eat into that. So, they are often saying, my advantage just flies through the window if I tip. So that's the excuse that they give for not tipping. But frankly, they're right. Is with such a thin advantage, they're not in a good position to tip. And yeah, so that's about all I can say on that topic.
Okay. Now let's see if anyone has an answer to the trivia question. Was it Fraser River?
Nope.
Okay. And that was by Northern Jim. I didn't see any other answers to this, so let me know if I was missing anything.
Okay, that was a tough one. It is the Mackenzie River. So let's move on to another one. Okay, what Canadian chain has over 5,000 restaurants? And I use that word kind of loosely.
So if you know the answer, put it in the chat. And our next question is actually a comment from Technics, who says, I hope you weren't at Burning Man this year.
I was not. Otherwise, I would not be here right now. Today is the last day of Burning Man. And I'm sure you say that because on the opening day, there was a huge windstorm with gusts up to 50 miles per hour. And it blew down a lot of tents and some art sculptures, and including the Orgy Dome. And after that, and then it was closed for a while. And then they had like a lot of rain, and the gates were closed. And I think that it opened on a Sunday, I think, but I think on Monday and Tuesday you couldn't even get in because they closed the gates. But later in the week, I hear they had very nice weather. I heard just before the show there was a homicide at Burning Man this year, and yeah, but hopefully next year. That's what I said last year, and hoping to be there this year. But obviously, I'm not. But I'm overdue to go. Haven't been since 2023.
The last couple years, it always seems that there's something going on. So this year was the huge windstorm, and then was it the year before or the year before that where they had like that big old mud?
Yeah, that was 23, the last time I went. But 2024, they had very nice weather, or so I hear.
Okay. Have there ever been a homicide at Burning Man?
Nope, I don't think so. There have been fatalities there, including someone committing suicide by running right into the fire when they burned down the man. But there's drug-related deaths are common, and I believe that both this year and in 23 there were electrocution deaths because there was so much standing water, and somebody evidently tried to turn on a sound system and got electrocuted.
You
So
would think someone would know not to stand in a puddle of water when they're plugging something in.
you would think so. So, but yeah, so I would say accidental deaths are probably fairly common at Burning Man. I think that it seems like every year there's at least one.
Our next one is from Northern Jim, who says a local casino rebranded their cards, enabling edge sorting. What's the best play? Flipping Royals at Ultimate Texas Hold'em, at Mississippi Stud, or Aces at Blackjack? I'm on thin ice here, so I have to be strategic.
Okay. Well, in UTH and Mississippi Stud, they shuffle the cards. Hmm. Yeah, this is a good question. So, assuming that they don't do a turn, which they should do when they shuffle the cards, then I tend to think blackjack would be the best of those games, but that's just an educated opinion off the top of my head.
Okay. And then our next question comes from Jean, who says, when playing my favorite table game, if I am up, ahead, or down by a lot, when is a good time to leave the game to protect my winnings and prevent future losses?
So I am not big on questions like this. There is no magic time to get up, either when you've reached some threshold of winning or losing. The house advantage is the house advantage. And, what I like to say is that you should quit playing when you're not having fun anymore. So, let's say that you've done really well. That would be a good time to leave, because you're leaving happy at the win and you risk losing it if you stay. And if you've lost a lot, it's a good time to leave because you're probably angry, and it would be a good time to just cool down and do something else. But I want to go back to the last question. So Northern Jim mentioned edge sorting, and here's an example of, cards that can be edge sorted. Is these cards from the Las Vegas Club. Okay, so you see how the circle pattern, it's hard to tell with this camera, but if you look right here, this little circle at the very top gets cut off about halfway. But on this card, it gets cut off. You can only see like 10% of it. And so it's basically unevenly cut. And what the player can do is, if he's allowed to touch the cards, is say in blackjack, is he might turn the tens and aces one way and all the other cards the other way. And that way, he might be able to tell by the dealer's down card whether it's a high or a low card, which would give him an enormous advantage. And it's also really good in Baccarat. Baccarat is probably the game where where edge sorting is exploited the most. And any good casino knows how to protect this by when they shuffle, they cut the cards, and they rotate just one of them and then shuffle them together. And that completely foils any attempt at edge sorting.
And when they do the rotation, that's called boxing the deck.
Okay, did not know that.
Also, too, if anyone wants to look into this for more information, Phil Ivey got in trouble for this.
Yeah, we've talked about that on other live streams, so let's not go there again.
Our next question comes from Odds, who says, I have a promo or non-negotiable chips. Casinos allow any bet on the craps table. Can betting the free odds turn this into a plus EV play?
Betting the free odds turn this into, I would need to know. I mean, of course, these, by the way, a non-negotiable chip is what I call the type where you keep it till you lose it. So if you bet it and win, they pay you the winnings in real money, and the non-neg chip stays on the table. And this is in contrast to a use once chip where whether you win or lose, it's immediately taken away. So I would need to know what you need to do to get these chips to be able to tell if it's positive EV or not. But if you just have them, of course it's positive EV if you didn't have to do anything to get them. Just bet it on anything. You don't need to bet it on the odds.
And then do you want to do the answer to the trivia question or one more question?
Yes. Let's see. Do we have any answers to that?
We have several, and they're all the same. Was it Tim Hortons?
Tim Hortons. Love Tim Hortons. Although I hear that they are actually owned by Burger King, which makes me not like them so much. I've always thought of Tim Hortons as just a very Canadian thing. And when I go to Canada, it is a ritual of mine to get a Tim Hortons donut and coffee.
Ooh.
Yep.
That sounds good.
Yep.
What kind of donut?
In general, I like a donut that is very heavy, very doughy, as opposed to something that's very airy. Like I do not like Krispy Kreme because you can't really taste that bread. It's more like just eating sugary air. Tim Hortons makes a nice hefty donut. But what kind do I get? I like the kind that has chocolate. I mean, not chocolate, coconut on them. I like apple fritters. Jelly donuts. Things like that. Nothing too sweet.
Awesome. Okay, what's the next trivia question?
Okay. Can you name two commonly known foods that were invented in Canada?
And it's not donuts?
Nope.
So if you know the answer to that, put that in the chat. Our next gambling question comes from Shane, who says, are you worried that your work could possibly feed gambling addiction, or do you frame it more as reducing harm through math? What are your thoughts on this?
I absolutely sleep well at night. I think that if anything, I am helping people not get addicted because how did you frame it? Reducing harm through math. That I think that if people take the time to properly respect the odds of whatever they're playing, I think they're going to be more inclined to bet less and bet for the right reasons. And compulsive gamblers tend to not be good gamblers, in my opinion. But however, there are some compulsive gamblers that are also fairly skilled. And to them, I would say at least I'm helping them make their money last longer. And when I lived in Vegas, I knew quite a few professional gamblers that I think were also compulsive gamblers. And if they didn't have any positive play, then they would play negative things, and they would concoct all kinds of excuses why they were, but you just knew that they just had to play something. So, yep, ultimately my philosophy is the world would be a better place if there were unfettered access to truthful information. So I'm trying to just spread the truth about math and how it applies to gambling, and let the chips fall where they may, if you'll excuse the pun.
Yeah, gambling isn't going anywhere. It's here. So if we can teach people how to do it responsibly and also what to be aware of, that's better for them in the long run. I agree with you completely. I do not lose any sleep over this at all. Also, too, I was born and raised in Las Vegas, so gambling is just like normal, you know? But when I talk to people about this, I always use the same analogy. Whereas if you go to a movie theater, you're giving them money and you're not leaving with anything. Like you're leaving with an experience. You're not leaving with an actual tangible item. Gambling is an entertainment where you pay money and you don't leave with anything except an experience. Same thing.
Yeah. And I will say that I used to find it sad when I would go to a casino like Arizona Charlie's on Decatur, and you see these very elderly people, many of them in wheelchairs and schlepping around oxygen tanks and smoking. And you just knew they were just there practically all day long. And this used to make me feel kind of sad. But I think that if that's the only joy in the lives of these people, then who am I to say that should be taken away from them? So, yeah.
My grandmother was one of those. Like she was in the wheelchair. She had the oxygen tank. She would go to the casinos all the time, and she loved every second of it, and it made her happy, and she looked forward to it.
Yeah. So I, I'm not going to say that should be taken away from her. And, and I would just encourage her to do it in moderation, which she probably did.
Yep. She had a budget. She stuck to the budget. She only spent what she could spend. If she won any extra money, she was thrilled because now she had extra money to play. I mean, that was pretty much like an entertainment.
Yep.
She always ate. She always paid rent. Never had to worry about any of that.
Okay. All right. Good question, Shane.
Next is more of a comment. Wild Foodie Tours is saying hi and happy September.
Yes, happy September.
Next up is from Rodney, who says the Nevada gaming law requires slots to have a minimum RTP of 75%. Does that minimum RTP apply to table games too?
Yes, basically the short answer is yes. However, some games got grandfathered in when this law took effect, and they said, okay, this doesn't apply to, for example, Keno, live Keno, because this game was around before the law. And I have seen Keno games with house advantages up to 99%. And I believe this is because that rule does not apply to live Keno. But I would also like to add that, most games are above 75% just voluntarily, because if a game were under that, the player would really get killed, and the player would probably leave unhappy and not return to that game.
So some of the horrible side bets, for example, on craps, I know there's a couple proposition bets that are at 16% house hedge. Would that be included in this, or do side bets not count?
No, side bets count, and like bonus craps / diceology, whatever it's called, that has a house edge of like 21%. So it's still compliant with that rule. But I would like to say in defense of that bet that it takes a lot of rolls to resolve it. So if you look at the house advantage divided by the rolls, average rolls required to adjudicate the bet, it's really not that bad of a value.
Okay. And then should we see if we have any answers to the trivia question?
Yes.
Okay. Oh,
Wait,
let me just
I'm not
take
sure we
that
asked
down.
one.
Did we? I thought we did.
After the Tim Hortons, did I ask another one?
Let's see.
Oh yeah, the two dishes.
Was it I don't know how to pronounce this.
Yeah,
Potine?
poutine is one of them.
Okay. And how about Donner?
I'm not sure what a Donner is, to be honest with you. Oh wait, no, is a Donner that thing where it's kind of like they scrape off meat and put it in pita bread?
I have no
In
idea.
which case, I thought that was an Arabic thing.
Is it popcorn?
No. No, the other answer I'm looking for is a Hawaiian pizza, mainly pineapple and Canadian bacon.
WAS got Canadian bacon.
I'll give that partial credit, but I'm really looking for a Hawaiian pizza, which was not invented in Hawaii. It was invented in Canada. And by the way, for those who don't know, a poutine is French fries covered in gravy and cheese and often other toppings as well. And this is especially popular in Quebec, I believe, but it can be found in various other, probably especially like bars in Canada. And I went to some place in Montreal that had nothing but poutines, and they had like 100 different ones on the menu. So very Canadian, very fattening kind of thing.
Northern Jim says Donner is a Nova Scotia spin on a kebab. And then JCE says Donner is Turkish. Really good food.
Okay, good information there. Okay, let's go to another question. Where is North America's only walled city?
So if you know that answer, put it in the chat. And our next gambling question comes from a real deck who says, how do shuffle masters work? Are they truly random, or do they set to the cards, like for an Ultimate Texas Hold'em or Pai Gow?
I am not that knowledgeable on this topic. I do know that with a shoe of like 6 cards is basically there will be a lot of shelves with about 5 cards per shelf. And what happens is when the dealer like puts into a tray new cards to be randomly mixed into this whole stack, it will randomly pick a shelf to put the card in and then basically put it, I think, on the top of that shelf. However, I believe that it will never pick either, I think, the top shelf or the bottom shelf, something like that. So there is a way to exploit these shufflers based on this information. For example, I think that, like if I mark this ace of hearts somehow, it comes out and it gets put in the, fed back in. I believe it's impossible to get it back quickly because I think it can never go to the top shelf. It has to go somewhere deeper. So I think there's ways to basically count a shuffler, which is supposed to be uncountable. But that's about as far as I can take that topic. But how the single deck shufflers work, that I frankly don't know. And that's about as far as I can take that topic.
Well, the single deck shufflers are the same shufflers that are used on Pai Gow Poker and Ultimate Texas Hold'em.
Well, I think he's asking for mathematically how it works.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which, again, I don't know.
Okay. Our next gambling question comes from Wild Foodie Tours, who says, I'm super excited for the Wizard of Oz at the Sphere. Have you gone yet? Must be amazing to be in Vegas at MGM Grand inside Emerald City to see the actual show nearby at the Sphere.
Okay. Yeah, a number of people are talking about this on my forum, and I've seen a lot of little clips of it on YouTube. Facebook. So, but I haven't seen it. I do know that it's kind of pricey, like $100 for a ticket, and a lot of people complain. I'm not paying $100 to see a movie, but I've heard it's a very 4D kind of very special experience, and it, they redid a lot of the graphics, and if I were there, I would see it because I'm a Wizard of Oz fan, and but yeah, that's about all I know. And by the way, the MGM Grand is actually quite far from the Sphere, so I wouldn't necessarily make that association. And by the way, the reason the MGM Grand is green is because it's supposed to look like the Emerald City. And by the way, I just finished reading the book, and the Emerald City is not really emerald. In the book, they make you put on goggles when you go in, and these goggles just make everything look green. Uh, but when really it's just not colored at all.
So they're emerald tinted glasses.
Exactly.
I saw some videos about the Wizard of Oz being played at the Sphere, and it looked really interesting because they were actually blowing wind during the tornado scene. So it was really like chaotic with the wind going everywhere. And then they had like rain coming down. So like people were getting wet and stuff. And I thought it was really interesting because they only seated people in the center, and there was absolutely zero people on the right and the left hand side. It was only the center. I thought that was really interesting because if you're going to have something that expensive, doing a production that is that expensive, capitalism and all that, you would try to fill it up, right? Why only have it in the center?
Okay, yeah, I did not know that, but I like how they have effects of wind and water and stuff like that. And at Disneyland, I don't know if they still do this, but they used to have an exhibit based on the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but they called it Honey, I Shrunk the Audience. And so the audience had this perception of having been shrunk. And I remember at one point, like a dog that looked absolutely humongous sneezed, and it actually like sprayed water at the audience. And it seemed like the dog sneezed at you. So I thought that was a good effect.
That is cool. And then back in the 90s, the MGM was more Wizard of Oz themed. I don't think it is as much nowadays. It's just pretty and nice. It's not like it used to be back in the old days, but that's also when they had the lion for the head.
Yeah, I can't tell any Wizard of Oz branding at all going in there.
Yeah. Do you remember the 90s MGM?
I lived in Baltimore in the 90s, so would never have been there during the 90s.
They actually, when you go into MGM where you get your room key and all of that, they had a whole display that was Wizard of Oz. And then if I remember correctly, they had a yellow brick road, which they changed it into just a normal, pathway now. And then where the shops were, it looked like it was Emerald City. It was actually really, really interesting. And then the theme park behind it had that theme. So with the roller coasters and all of that, I used to go there all the time when I was a kid.
Okay, yeah, I did not know that. Okay, anyway, enough about that one.
Next one is from Tony, who says, is it a fallacy to assume triple play video poker can reduce variance? I've read it that if pay tables remain the same, you need more money to stay alive with multi-line than single line.
Yeah, given the same bet per hand, yeah, of course, multiplay has more variance. However, if you divide it amongst what's a good example? The variance in quarter four play would be less than $1 single play. So I have a whole page at Wizard of Oz devoted to this topic, about including the covariance between hands and stuff like that. So that's about as far as I can take that one.
Okay. And then our next one comes from Rick, who says, thank you for the Q&A. What locals casinos are best for table minimum players? I play a variety of games except 21.
So sorry. Oh, okay. I really like the South Point. They have low minimums, very respectable game rules. So I would like to put in, a good plug for the South Point for low table minimums.
Fantastic. And
Okay.
then,
Go ahead.
do you want to see if anyone has an answer to the trivia?
Okay.
Okay. So let's see. Is it Quebec?
Let's see. Now I forgot what the question was.
That has
Oh
walls?
yeah. It was the correct answer I'm looking for is Quebec City, not to be confused with the province of Quebec.
Okay. Because we have several people that said Quebec, but here we go. Northern Jim. Isn't Quebec City itself a fortress?
Yes. So, I'm sorry. So yes, Quebec City is basically the whole city was a fortress, and much like many cities in Europe, it has a wall around it as a defense. But it is the only such city of its type in North America. And that is
Okay.
about all I know. So let's go on to the next question. Okay. In what year did Canada declare independence?
So if you know that, put it in the chat. And our next gambling question comes from lots of people saying comments. Okay. From your website, there is a negative 5.4% chance of a banker winning on a 6, meaning a net loss of $50. After 1,500 hands, I worked out an expected loss of around 4,000. Does this sound approximately correct?
Okay, that tilde symbol means approximately, not negative.
Oh,
So let me
sorry.
read this. From your website, there is approximately a 5.4% chance of a banker win on 6, meaning a net loss of $50. After 1,500 hands, I worked out an expected loss. And, I would need to do the math off the top of my head. I don't know, and don't want to spend too much time on this because I don't think it's going to be of that much interest to anyone except you. So, yeah, questions
Okay.
like that are better asked on my forum.
Okay. And how would people find your forum? How would they find that?
Wizardofvegas.com.
Okay. And then our next gambling question comes from, let's see here. It's not a question, it's a comment. Cheers to the Wizard of Oz fans out there for the best fairy tale ever. Here's a question. What are your thoughts on states like Illinois imposing a tax on sportsbook like DraftKings and FanDuel that is being passed through to customers?
Well, I would imagine every state taxes these sports books, much like they should tax any business. Why not? There's an economic trend, event happening here, and the government will try to get its cut of just about any kind of financial event, and a sports book should absolutely not be exempted from that. Especially if they enjoy a monopoly or semi-monopoly, like oftentimes DraftKings and FanDuel does. And of course, they pass that on to the customers. What else are they going to do? That's just the way business is. So, if I understand the question correctly, I have no problem with that.
Okay. And if you guys have any questions that you would like to ask Michael Shackelford, please put them in the chat. Wild Foods Wild Foodie Tours. It's not a question, it's more of a statement. I wish they would bring back the themed casinos of the 90s.
Yeah, I doubt that's going to happen. I think that casinos realize that families and kids are frankly not very profitable, and and that's the kind of people that themed casinos tended to bring in. And so no, they would rather just get the mature adults that don't care about a theme. Um, so
There
yep.
are still themed casinos on the strip, like New York, Excalibur, Luxor, Circus. I heard Circus wasn't doing very well.
Yeah, that's probably going to be the next casino to go the way of the dodo bird, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, keeping an eye on the time, let me show you how I did that magic trick, okay?
Let's see it.
Okay, so let me move the camera again. Okay. So this is basically the same thing as a magic trick you often see in kits for new magicians. And it's all based on binary arithmetic. So I'm going to convert the 13 ranks to binary numbers. So an ace will count as 1. So we put that in the 1 pile. A 2 goes in the 2 pile. To get at a 3 is 2 can be expressed as a 2 and a 1 in binary arithmetic. So there's the 2 and there's a 1. 1 plus 2 equals 3. A 4 just goes in the 4 pile. A 5 can be expressed as 4 plus, I need one more 5, 1, and so on. So you break down the 13 ranks into their into a binary number. And after you have done that, when you're doing the trick, you have to show them the groups of cards in the right order. So I like to start with the 1 group, which is basically going to be all the odd cards. So if the person says they see their card in the 1 group, then I basically have a running count in my head starting at 1. If they say they also saw it in the 2 group, which might happen with the 3, then I add 2 more to that count. If they say they see it in the 4 group, I would add 4. And if they see it in the 8 group, then I add 8. For example, your card was an 8, right?
It was a 9.
A 9. So the way you express 9 in binary arithmetic is an 8 plus a 1. So you would have only seen it in the 1 group and the 8 group. So when you said yes for the 1 group, I had basically counted 1 in my head. I kept it at 1 here because it was not in the 2 group, it was not in the 4 group. And then you said yes for the 8. So 1 plus 8 equals 9. So so I knew it was a 9.
That is so cool.
So you have to set this up before the person, in advance. You don't want to sit there taking 5 minutes saying, wait for me to set up this deck. It doesn't look very magical. I just like to have them right there at the top of the deck ready to go, in which case the 1 deck will have 7 cards, 6, 6, and 6.
That is so cool.
So there you go. That is my magic trick for the day. And so I see it's almost 4 o'clock.
Yep. While you're doing that, little Joe says, hi, finally able to catch you guys. Super excited about that.
Hey, little Joe. Seems like I
And
haven't seen him for a while.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And then what was the trivia question?
Oh. What was the last one that I left off on? I'm not sure. I asked one that didn't get answered. Anyway, I had lots of other Canada questions I didn't get to, but this is
There
probably...
was.
Oh,
We had
yeah.
something.
What year did Canada declare independence, and frankly, I was rather surprised at this one. But my source says 1982.
Nice.
And I have been going to Canada before 1982 and after, and frankly, I have not noticed any difference. But but Canada is still, I believe, considered part of the British Commonwealth. But I think that in 1982 they basically just distanced themselves from England more. I believe there's still a little bit of a connection there, but I just came from Canada. They do not have the like pictures of the monarchy on their money anymore. I believe they used to. I believe now it's images of famous Canadians. So that's about as far as I can take that. And yeah, so
Awesome.
that is it for that one.
So when is the next time we're going to be doing this?
How about September 15th?
Sounds good. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. If you have any questions, remember, the sooner you get your questions in, the more likely that they are going to be answered. And Wild Foodie says, thank you so much for another great live stream.
Thank you for the kind words.
Yeah. And it was good seeing you, Mike.
Nice to see you too, Heather. And thank you, audience, for all your questions and participation. And see you guys in 2 weeks.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, bye.
Bye.